Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Hello again, St. Lucia, and welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. I am Philip Sidney, your host. Today's topic is Climate Adaptation Financing Facility for Agriculture, known as CAFF, the acronym. It's a World Bank initiative, and it is being implemented by the St. Lucia Development Bank, SLDB. With me are two gentlemen who will give us an insight into this program. And to my immediate right is Dr. Felix Jaria, who is an agricultural engineer by profession, once our Director of Agricultural Services in the Department of Agriculture, recently retired, a very productive individual, and is now attached to that project as a technical support. We have next to him Mr. Vincent Boland, who is the Managing Director for the St. Lucia Development Bank, SLDB. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Mr. Boland, I'll start with you because I know this project has been involved with the bank for a little while. Tell us exactly what is CAFF and how did it come about?
Good day, and thank you. CAFF stands for, like you said, the Climate Adaptation Financing Facility. It is a collaboration between the St. Lucia Development Bank and the World Bank. And it's part of a wider project which the government has called the DVRP, which is a Disaster Risk Reduction project. And it's really trying to allow St. Lucians to make themselves more resilient to any of our, what we normally face with on an annual basis, the heavy storms. And the program is split into a number of sections. And agriculture is one of the key areas because obviously that's a key pillar for our economy. Definitely. And what you have is that the facility allows persons to access financing at preferential rates to make themselves more resilient. So it goes through, it looks at a number of areas in which to be able to do this. It also looks at housing. It also looks at, the manufacturing sector. So, but today, as it's, we are agriculture on the move, our focus is to talk about the impact that the St. Lucia Development Bank can have on agriculture utilizing the CAFF. The areas that we look for, or that we're looking at, to make the farmers more resilient, to start from looking at what the types of seeds that they use, what it is, are there drought-resistant crop that can be grown. Then we look at the irrigation system. Without water, obviously, then nothing can happen. So when you have a storm, what will happen? Do they have rainwater harvesting? So all of these things are mechanisms that we are wanting to be able to promote as we go along.
And I was told it is a pilot project and only in St. Lucia for now.
Yes. So the World Bank has said, well, all right, let's see how it's new to them to be able to permit a facility that finances these types of projects. And they said, well, the Development Bank has been showing, good signs of governance and accountability and everything else. And they said, okay, they'll utilize our services. And it's been going along, not as flourishing as we would have liked, to get the word out to as many people. And we are trying a number of initiatives. And one is engaging a consultant with the expertise that Dr. Jaria brings to the table to facilitate us now reaching out to as many persons in the agricultural community as possible.
Great. So, Dr. Jaria, to you now. I mean, what's your role really?
Well, my role, as Mr. Boland said, is to provide some guidance to the project. The agricultural sector has not gravitated towards the CAFF as one would have anticipated.
But why?
Well, I guess there are a number of reasons why that may be. In my preliminary discussions with the Ministry of Agriculture and with some stakeholders, I get the impression that the CAFF hasn't gotten to the agricultural sector as it has gotten to the other sectors. One problem I've noticed is that farmers, when you say the CAFF is for small businesses, sometimes farmers don't see themselves in that category. So you need to specify the CAFF is also for agriculture. Then I think you will get a greater reception. So what I'm doing right now is meeting with a number of stakeholders. I met with the Ministry of Agriculture, the Extension Division, the Forestry Division, the Livestock Division. I've met with Marcy so that I can begin the process of informing them of what the CAFF project is, and then subsequent to that, to interface on a one-to-one with the farmers and see what kind of interventions that we can assist or can point out one and help them to take it throughout the process to completion.
How many farmers have accepted that project since its inception?
Well, since I've come on board, I came in October, 1st of October, we haven't had anybody yet, any farmers taking on the project. But as far as I understand, there have been 1 or 2 farmers who have in the past 2 years who have gravitated towards the project. Mr. Boland might be in a
Can you
position
expand on that, Mr. Boland?
Yeah, the uptake has been very low in terms of what is available to them. Because I mean, when you think of it, from the bank's perspective, we do have agricultural products, meaning that we understand better than the commercial banks how the farmer's cycle is. So that the farmer, when he plants, he has to maintain the crop, he has to pay labor, he has to water, all of those things, but he doesn't reap until, depending on the type of crop that he's using, either 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months. So those things require special structure for us to be able to finance. So those things we do have, and we have a number of farmers that we facilitate. But now to get them to say, okay, here's a resilience product that they now need to introduce, that's where the sort of low uptake is. And that's why we now have Dr. Jaria to map out St. Lucia, go by zone to identify those farms and farmers that are in need of making themselves more resilient.
But do you have any of those that have come on board to see that there's a success story, no?
We have 1 or 2 of those, yes, that we have seen.
What areas?
So those were persons who put a greenhouse, that they have seen now, okay, the benefits of the greenhouse. So the government, through its drive to have 7 specific crops that we can see a reduction in our food import bill, those persons have come to us for the greenhouse.
Great.
We're trying to encourage more because we are working with some young guys who they are developing and enhancing the greenhouse concept to make it more friendly to the young person. So you'll find that young person can utilize his phone to check the temperature, to check, what if the irrigation needs to be on.
Hold that point, we'll do for our first break. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned.
Climat la terre a changé et ça a affecté nous toutes. Cyclone qui a venu plus mauvais, gros de l'eau et la panne de l'eau qui a détruit les animaux et plants. Quand la mer qui a venu plus chaud et qui a tué place qui s'est pression dans la habité. La mer chaude a aussi changé manière ces pression qui a quitté d'un côté et aller à l'autre côté. Cette liste a contribué en petit gaz en l'espace. Quand un petit pays, nous avons essayé de faire tout ça, nous avons fait pour assurer que nous baisser à la quantité de gaz nous avons servi pour empêcher la terre à venir plus chaud. Il faut pour baisser à la quantité de gaz nous avons servi, c'est mitigation. Le climat a changé. Il a changé depuis nous tout où les gens la terre, brûler gaz, l'huile et charbon. Et ça en cause la terre vient à chaque plus chaud. Ça nous ne pouvons faire tout le moment, c'est pour adapter. Faire tout ça nous a fait pour préparer et répondre pour ces conséquences négatives à la cause du changement climatique. Nous tous, ça fait quelque chose. Par exemple, nous ne pouvons assurer que nous protéger tout ça nous avons planté. Servir fumier qui est naturel. Bâtir nous pour abattre des dommages en temps cyclone et gros de l'eau. Construire canal pour de l'eau courir bien comme il faut. Et assurer que le canal là pas désordre. Faire tout ça qui est possible pour vivre en temps de changement climatique. Trouver plus d'informations à ce plan d'adaptation national gouvernement et des démarches ou même ça prend pour protéger le corps et tout l'autre cette lycéen.
Welcome back to the program. Mr. Bullen, you touched on a very sensitive and interesting point in that the ministry have now embarked on a project called the Vegetable and Import Substitution Project. And this project goes way back. I must say I'm happy that it's on board because I'm sure you can remember, Dr. Jaria, some time ago I remember giving a copy of our food import bill. And one of the things I was looking forward to was to create a dent in the importation of the crops that we can grow. And I'm happy that we have identified those 7 crops. And I'm thinking here, Mr. Boland, that your agency, your bank can assist young farmers to get into that initiative.
Certainly. So at the beginning of our 10th anniversary celebration, because we are now 10 years old as of the 22nd of February.
Okay.
And it's been a year of us identifying our key areas to be able to say, okay, this is how we're, promoting the bank. We had, I think it was 300 seedlings in each of those same 7 crop that we gave out to customers, just to encourage and to highlight the need for you to work on those. The thing about those 7 crop is that some of them are very, very delicate and sensitive, and I'm sure Dr. Jaria can expound on that. Meaning that, for instance, I took home one of the melon seedlings and had it was starting to grow and flourish, but when a big rain came, it actually killed it. And to my surprise, I was saying, but what caused it? So they are prone to floods.
You need protection.
They are precisely. So I need to have my own
greenhouse.
I need a greenhouse. So I need a bigger yard for that.
Exactly.
So those are things that we are trying to promote and say, listen, if it is you're going into these particular crop, come and speak with us. Speak to Dr. Jaria. Let us be able to identify what you need to do to be able to have the yield or to make that dent that we're looking for. So that, for instance, if it's tomatoes, if it's the melons, if it's the, all of those particular crop that they identified, they are very, they're short term, some of them, but they're sensitive and they will need protection from the environment.
But
just let me add to Mr. Boland's contribution. The CAFF targets climate adaptation specifically. So whatever initiative that you undertake as an agricultural or a farmer, it must have a slant towards climate adaptation. So whether it be irrigation, greenhouse protection, aquaculture, hydroponics, whatever the initiative is, it has to have a bias towards climate adaptation.
I understand that. But Mr. Boland, going back to what are the prerequisites for a farmer accessing that facility from your bank? Because if I may go back a bit, one of the problems I know, I'm sure this is well known, that yes, I know the bank has taken some blows before, okay? But moving forward, financing for the farmer, especially young farmers, having problems. It can go way back as far as the Youth Agri-Entrepreneurial Project is concerned. So is it easier now for accessing that funding?
We are trying always to see how best we can make it easier. As you would understand, a lending facility has its prerequisites. And security collateral is always an area that persons seem to say, well, okay, how do I get around that? We have been trying to see, okay, we can take a bill of sale on some of the equipment. We even reached the stage where we ask for just a guarantor to see, okay, you may not own your land, so you can't pledge it as collateral, but we have to find a way to assist these young persons. We have come up with a sort of a strategy in that we have engaged the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association. And what they have done is that they are identifying key persons in agriculture that they want to be able to facilitate, and they want to utilize their tourism enhancement fund to utilize that as some form of collateral for those persons. So I think this is a great initiative, and we're now, getting to the point where if we can reach out to others that's saying, listen, I know First National had asked Invest in Lucia, listen, if you have a large tract of land, let's put that up as collateral for these young farmers let's put it up as collateral.
right.
So we as St. Lucia, to develop that particular sector, we have to come up with innovative ways of seeing how we can assist those young persons. Because you're correct, it is a key requirement. The farmer also has to go through the process of understanding his business and being able to say, okay, I know that at the end of the cycle, I have to repay the bank because the bank helped me to pay the wages, the bank helped me to pay the fertilizer, the bank helped me to pay my water bill, but also the bank helped me to sustain myself. Because sometimes people see the amount of money that they collect at the end as being profits. And not realizing that, you must sustain your family. Farmers have kids, they have to send them to school. So you put aside some for yourself. But you also have to maintain your cost of production and then repay the bank. So it's an educational process that we are taking steps to try and say, okay, let's see how we can do that. Again, we have Dr. Jaria with, as an agricultural engineer, to engineer the farmers and their thinking to say, okay, these are a significant business sector for St. Lucia, and we need to be able to assist them.
Dr. Jaria, moving forward, number one, where can farmers reach you? Okay, and do you have an actual plan, a strategy, an itinerary that would say, okay, you've said you started working or discussing with the various agencies, agriculture. Do you really have agriculture on board as one of the vehicles used to ensure that you're going to get the farmers to come on board and to move on?
That's a very good question, because I think the first thing that needs to be done is to ensure that the farmers are aware of the existence of a project called CAFF. And to facilitate that, we are having a stakeholder consultation in the first week of December, where we have not only the farmers, but all the stakeholders, the service providers, and all stakeholders to be part of that consultation. So the aim is to provide information on the CAFF and to look at possible initiatives that are available through the CAFF that farmers can source. And we will also explain to them the criteria which facilitates an individual getting and we may also look at the possibility of identifying some of the constraints that may be affecting farmers to access the CAFF. And one other point I would like to highlight is the fact that the literature has made a point that whilst persons are aware of the impact of climate change, but they don't always know what initiatives to undertake. And I think one of the high points at that consultation will be also trying to identify the areas of training needs. And so we can try to address that as the CAFF project has a training component to deal with that. And to answer your question a little more direct, yes, there's I have a work program for the entire period of my stint where I'll be targeting the consultation, but then subsequently to go into the fields and meet the farmers on a one-to-one after they've gotten some initial introduction to the program.
What's the duration of the project? Since it's a pilot project, there must be...
The project actually was supposed to end in December of this year, but the World Bank has, through the government, they have extended it, and it's going to end in 2021. So it's another 2 years that we have now to be able to continue to disburse the funds. The original funding was $4.5 million US dollars. We still have a good bit of that available to be able to utilize in all the sectors. If agriculture uses up all, even better.
Okay, hold that point. We'll do for a final break. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
The world's climate is changing, and that affects all of us. Storms are becoming increasingly intense. Periods of intense drought and heavy rain stress farm animals and destroy our crops. Higher average ocean temperatures kill our coral reefs and change the migratory patterns of fish. St. Lucia contributes only 0.0015% of global greenhouse gas emissions, but is doing its part, along with countries around the world, to reduce the emissions that are warming our world and changing our climate. These efforts are called mitigation. But decades of emissions have already changed the climate, and the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere today will increase average global temperatures even more. We need to adapt, that is, do everything we can to prepare for and respond to the actual and expected negative effects of climate change, and everyone has a role to play. We need to protect our crops, build homes that withstand storms, and keep our drains and waterways free of garbage to help us recover or bounce back from climatic events. Learn more about the Government of St. Lucia's National Adaptation Plan and the steps you can take to protect yourself and your fellow St. Lucians.
Welcome back to the program. Mr. Boland, I'm sure during the implementation stage of the project and where it's at now, you had a monitoring and evaluation of where you start and where you are. Could you tell us what you observed, where were the pitfalls, where were the strengths? Can you give us?
So I think, I had this same sort of requirement by the World Bank, and they brought me to Washington and put me in front of a big camera with a number of people to explain what are the challenges and some of the things. Some people think it's a grant, but it's a loan.
Yes.
That
has to be spelled out carefully. Eh?
It's
Trust me, I know why. I'll give you some instances.
Yeah. So that's one of the areas where people feel, well, hey, if you want to make me more resilient, just give it to me. But it's really people identifying what they need to do to make themselves more resilient. So we have seen, in terms of the target numbers that they have given us to reach, we are reaching the numbers, not the value. Because in instances, and hence the reason to spread it much more. In terms of agriculture, our uptake has been very low. In terms of gender, we are almost 50-50 in terms of females and males accessing the facility. So they have certain metrics that, yes, the World Bank looks at. But we are, always concerned in terms of looking at our pillars of the economy. And agriculture being a key one, it means that we have to do more. It needs for us to reach out more and to say, okay, when we think of the disasters that hit an island or a country, you think of, the people immediately after the storm, what happens? People start looking for water, people start looking for the basic needs, food, and looking for shelter. And food being such an important issue, we have to think, okay, what happens in terms of that? We have seen, especially like in Dominica, the first crop to come back were the root and tuber crops. So again, that is a resilient crop that it will fall under our financing. Our rate starts for the agriculture industry at 5.5%. So it's an attractive rate.
And what's the ceiling in terms of lending?
In terms of the amount, $300,000.
Okay.
So it's sizable to allow somebody to put up a couple greenhouses, to irrigate themselves, to be able to, I think rainwater harvesting is going to be a key issue for farms, for individuals, in the years to come. We're seeing that, there's a lot of jostling on the world stage for oil, and it's going to turn into water. It's going to be water.
True.
We're going to, and what we don't understand is that we have a good bit of water here, that we need to protect it.
That's right.
We need to protect ourselves and to be able to harvest it. So the CAFF, the Climate Adaptation Financing Facility, permits persons to easily access, funding to make themselves more resilient.
To sell yourself, okay, that's one avenue. We have a discussion here. A lot of people are watching, that's one area. But I still believe that for the 2 years you'll have been in operation with CAFF,
yes.
I think more can be done in terms of advertising. One of the things I'm thinking of here, maybe you can have a nice road show. Right? This is an area, because we have done it before, and it has worked very, very well, and to really hype up that initiative. So I'm just saying, just en passant, that's one of the areas I'm thinking you all should be concentrating on in terms of the hype, let people know what's happening. And this is that grant thing you mentioned, trust me, people have this idea. It has happened with SLDB some years ago, where there was an initiative for the production of Dashin. And they gave them the loan with the anticipation that they would have sold to marketing board. And somebody passed and gave them 10 cents more, and they sold it to that person. Marketing board never got what they were contracted for.
Yes.
They never paid back SLDB.
Wow.
Because somebody tell them, ça c'est la gouvernement, the public PEVB, and that was a problem. So you'll need to spell this out very, very, very clearly,
Sure.
as you have. So taking you to the consultation, Jaria, tell us where those 2 consultations are going to happen, when are they going to happen, and what time?
Okay, we will be having 2 consultations, one in the south at the NSDC's conference room in Beaufort, and one that's on the 3rd of December. No, that one is the 5th of December. And the 3rd of December, we'll be having one to the north at the Orchid Center, that's at Union.
Okay.
And we'll be targeting the north of the island in Castries, and the south of the island we'll be targeting down in Beaufort.
Okay, and then who are the people you're expecting to be your stakeholders? Could you mention them
Okay,
again?
we have farmers, we have fishers, we have suppliers, we have irrigation suppliers, we have seed suppliers, we have chemical suppliers, we have cooperatives, we have
Of course, the Ministry of Agriculture.
yeah, well, the staff of the
Ministry,
ministry, staff of the Ministry of
Extension,
Agriculture, and farming
very
community.
Good, very, very, very good. As we about to end, Mr. Boland, what would you tell potential persons who would be willing to access your facility? Early o'clock, what is required of them? Because that is important, the prerequisites. Because that's what I believe, that they're frightened, they want to, and they say, well, we are landless farmers. What can they, but they have the potential, especially young people. Like I'll tell you, there are 2 guys who have developed a smart greenhouse, and the app is on the phone.
Jade Hutchinson.
Thank you, okay? These are the guys that you'll need to be working with. Tell us a little more.
We're in contact with Jade and his group, fairly constantly. But yeah, the young person can come to us. You bring in your, if it is that you can write your proposal, it's better because it gives us something to look at and to work with. But if it is that you're an existing farmer, you come with your invoice or your, to say, listen, I want to finance this. I want to be able to buy, set up my whole irrigation system or my rainwater harvesting system. And you bring the invoices and the information that we would need. We have an agricultural specialist in the bank. So this person is trained in agriculture that will allow them to take you through the steps and say, okay, these are the things you need. Great. We are going through right now, as we speak, a strategic planning process. So yesterday, Monday and Tuesday, we had consultations with customers. We had consultations with the governmental offices. We had consultations with our directors and senior management. We're moving to the staff, but we are open to persons, coming in and telling us, hey, this is some of the things you need to do.
Good.
In terms of what the seminars that we're going to run, I invite people to come and just register at the bank.
Well said, well done. I think we have exhausted our time here. I told you this was very shortened.
Sure.
But I think we have done very well in explaining. Maybe there'll be a part 2 in terms of evaluation to ensure where you're at, as Jaria, since you just come on board. So I wish you all luck. I wish you success, but I know you'll do a good job because you have the ability. And of course, with the bank, I know everything will go fine. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here. You've been watching Agriculture on the Move. Thank you for viewing. Please, people, young people, take advantage of this situation and speak to Mr. Jaria and, of course, Mr. Boland at the SLDB to guide you. Thank you again. I'm Philip Sidney. Goodbye.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.